Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is Sean, and today I have a new album review by the band Dinosaur Jr. and it's called Sweep It Into Space. So before I begin, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more, and I upload about one video per day. So basically, Dinosaur Jr. is a rock band. They formed in 1984. They became very popular in the early 90s, and they were kind of lumped together with like grunge bands. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't really think they sound anything like Nirvana or Soundgarden, but more along the lines of those 90s alternative like indie rock bands like Counting Crows, Beck, or Sonic Youth, to name a few. They describe their sound as having an influence of classic rock. They use a lot of feedback and distortion. And the founder and the main vocalist and guitarist, his name is Jay Mascis. And to be honest with you, I never really liked his vocals, but I listened to this album a few times and it does grow on you, after a few listens. It's pretty good. The songs are good. They're catchy. They're memorable. Brings back that 90s alternative rock sound. I wouldn't even call them a 90s band because even though the bulk of their material has been released in the 90s, I mean, their first album was called Dinosaur, and it came out in 1985. The most popular album is called Where You Been. That one, I think, came out in 93. And that album does have a similar sound to this album. And they have been fairly consistent over the years. They only took a 10-year break between 1997 and 2007. I haven't really listened to all their other albums in the discography, so if you are a big fan and you have listened to their other albums, please let me know how they sound, in the comments section below. Okay, their first song is called I Ain't, and it has a similar sound to their 90s style. The guitars are very grungy, some light distortion, some feedback. Like I said, his vocal style is very unique and you may or may not like it. The song has some pretty cool backing vocals in the chorus, and it's a pretty good album opener. The next song is called I Met the Stones, which is not about meeting the Rolling Stones. It's something a little more deep and emotional. But what I like about this song is that the opening riff is very heavy metal. Now, I don't know if Dinosaur Jr. has ever experimented with a metal sound, and if you do know, let me know in the comments. But I did like this song a lot just because of that heavy metal factor, but that riff was only in the beginning. After that, it kind of sounds like one of their other songs, but I thought that was just worth mentioning. After that is a song called To Be Waiting, and another song with a lot of feedback and grungy guitars. This is more straightforward rock, and it's more of like rock, but 90s alternative. After that is I Ran Away. The song has a little more of a country twang. It's still that straightforward rock song. Reminds me a little bit of Tom Petty. The guitar solo brings me back to that 90s grunge days, and this was also their first single released last February. The next song is called Garden, and this one is a little more laid back than the others. It reminded me of a Pearl Jam acoustic song, which is kind of ironic because Pearl Jam does have a song called Garden on their first album, but it's melodic. It's an acoustic ballad. Yeah, I like the vocals in this one, and this one they actually did a music video for, so you can look this one up on YouTube. After that is Hide Another Round, and this one has a little bit more of a punk rock groove. I like this one a lot. It's upbeat, still retains the same sound, and the chorus is very catchy, and it's a decent song. And the next song is called And Me. It's a straightforward rock song. It has some grunge undertones. The guitars have a very nice tone. Reminds me a little bit of that band the Screaming Trees, if you remember them back from the 90s. And this is a pretty good song. Now at this point in the album, there's still 5 more tracks, but I'm just going to mention a few more just to keep this review fairly short. So the next song is called Take It Back, and this one sounds a little different than the other songs. If you're a fan of indie rock, you might like the song. It's still a rock song, but it has a lighter mood. It's a little of a happier tone. Something piano in the mix or a keyboard or whatever it is. And it's a little more upbeat and happy. So It's a little different song, but I like that one. Another song called Walking to You, and this one's a little more heavier, a little grungier. I like the guitars, I like the vocals, and it's very melodic, still retaining that 90s sound. The album ends with a song called You Wonder, and you know, I was talking about Nirvana comparisons before, and this might be like the closest thing to something by either Nirvana, like on their Unplugged album, or like a Pearl Jam song. It's grungy, it's more laid back, but it's really like a good way to end the album on a more like a relaxed note. So in conclusion, this is a decent album. If you like that sound, you know, this band did kind of go back a little bit to the 90s, and I did like listen to like some of their older stuff, you know, before doing this review to have something to compare it to. And it did remind me of their album like from the 90s that I talked about before. It's a decent album, it didn't blow me away, but I think if you're a fan, you will like it. So in my opinion, I would give it a 7 out of 10 just because I think it's decent. But if you are a Dinosaur Jr. fan, let me know how it stands up against the rest of their discography, because I don't really know the band that much, but I wouldn't say it's a bad album because I did enjoy, you know, most of the songs to some degree. And that is it. So coming up this week, I have some contest winnings, and I have an album I purchased from Amazon, which should be arriving on Tuesday, so I'll do a video on that, and I'll probably add some of those like 7-inch vinyls that I did in a previous video. I haven't done that in a while. That will be on Tuesday. I'm thinking tomorrow I'll do a ranking of Metallica's closing tracks, because you know I already did the opening tracks, and I'll do the closing tracks. I kind of want to get a little back into the classic metal. I am thinking of doing an Offspring ranking, but I need to listen to all their albums to kind of put that together. So that'd probably be like more towards the end of the week. Next weekend's a pretty good weekend for new releases. I'll talk about that like a little later. So that's it. Please check out the in-video links, and I'll see you in the next one.